Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by mountains, there lived a 24-year-old young man named Marco. Marco was very restless. His mind was always full of thoughts. All day long, different thoughts came and went, and these thoughts made him feel uneasy and tired. He always felt sad about his past and worried a lot about the future. Because of these thoughts, his mind was like a storm. He couldn't feel calm, couldn't sleep well, and even forgot how to smile. One day, Marco heard about a faraway village in the hills. People said that a wise old man lived there. That man used to be a famous psychologist in the city. He had helped many people in his life and had taught them how to find peace in their minds. Now he was old. He left the busy life of the city and started living in a quiet village close to nature. Sometimes he gave advice to visitors. Marco became curious and hopeful. He decided that he must go and meet that old man. He thought, maybe this wise man can help me find peace. After many days of a long and tiring journey, Marco reached the village in the hills. When he got there, he saw a small house covered with greenery. On the porch of the house, the old man was sitting quietly. His eyes were closed, and he looked very peaceful. Marco walked up to him and said softly, "Grandfather, my mind is very restless. I cannot stop thinking. I want peace in my heart. Can you help me?" The old man slowly opened his eyes and gave a calm smile. He said, "So you are looking for peace? Then come with me. I will give you a small task." He took Marco to his little yard. Then he filled a glass with water completely full to the top. The glass was so full that even a little shake would make the water spill. He gave the glass to Marco and said, "Walk from here to the edge of the village and then come back. But remember, you must not spill even one drop of water." Marco looked at him with surprise, but he wanted to do his best, so he accepted the challenge. He held the glass carefully and started walking. The road was narrow and busy. Some people were walking, some were running. Shopkeepers were calling customers and dogs were barking. But Marco did not look around. His eyes stayed only on the glass. He walked slowly and carefully, step by step. People looked at him with surprise, but no one disturbed him. They knew he was learning something important. Finally, Marco came back to the old man and said, "Grandfather, I did it. I didn't spill even one drop of water." The old man nodded and smiled. Then he asked, "That's good. But tell me, did you see the children playing on the side of the road? Did you hear the dogs barking?" Marco looked surprised and said, "No, I didn't see or hear anything. I was only focusing on the glass." The old man smiled again and said gently, "That is the secret. Something that was always inside you, but you didn't know. When your mind stays in the present moment, then there is no space for fear, no confusion, and no extra thoughts. You were only thinking about the water in the glass. At that time, your mind became completely quiet. You were not sad about the past. You were not afraid of the future." Slowly, Marco began to understand. This was the peace he was searching for. Peace is not something we find outside. Peace is already inside us when we live in the present moment. Marco bowed his head and said softly, "Grandfather, now I understand. If I want to calm my mind, I must keep my mind in this moment. That is when real peace comes." The old man smiled again. The sun was setting, and the last light touched the ground. Birds were flying back to their nests. Marco started walking back home, but now he was not the same restless young man. He had changed. He was peaceful inside, because now he knew how to calm the mind. If you like the story, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one. Thank you for staying with us. See you in the next story with new thoughts and new lessons. Until then, stay well and stay peaceful.
You know that feeling, don't you? That relentless chatter inside your head, the mind just refusing to quiet down.
Hmm.
It's like a storm brewing, thoughts swirling about things that happen, worries about what might happen. It leaves you feeling, well, uneasy, tired, sort of weighed down.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Sometimes it feels like even smiling is difficult, a distant memory.
Exactly. This constant mental hum, this deep internal unrest, it's actually, well, it's incredibly common, isn't it?
It really is. This state, this constant mental activity, sometimes we call it rumination, sometimes, worrying about the future, it pulls us away from the only moment we actually have,
Right.
which is right now.
Right.
We end up searching for peace, like outside ourselves, looking for distractions maybe. But the real noise, as you said, it's often generated right here inside.
And today we're doing a deep dive into a story about a young man who knew that storm very well. We're talking about Marco. He's 24, living in this quiet village up in the mountains. And his mind was just perpetually full. A real storm of thoughts made him sad about his past, anxious about his future. He just couldn't find any calm, couldn't sleep properly, felt like he'd totally forgotten how to smile. It really paints a picture, doesn't it? Being completely overwhelmed.
It does, and it's such a powerful story.
Yeah.
Marco's experience, it's not just a tale, right? It's like a mirror for the struggle so many people face, where this internal chaos, it doesn't just stay emotional, it becomes physical, messing with sleep, energy, even, like you said, simple joy.
Yeah.
And for someone like the wise man in the story, who apparently was a psychologist before,
Yeah.
well, understanding this deep-seated mental stuff is fundamental.
So Marco, he's desperate, basically. He hears these whispers about a wise old man. This man, once quite famous psychologist in the city, apparently chose a simpler life, close to nature in a far-off village.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this reputation for helping people, navigate their minds and find some inner peace. So Marco, driven by this real yearning for relief, just felt he had to find him.
That detail about the wise man's background, that's quite interesting. It suggests his wisdom isn't just, folk tales. It's likely rooted in a deep understanding of how our minds work, how emotions function.
Right.
Maybe refined by living close to nature. It kind of hints that the solutions might be profound, but maybe surprisingly simple, not purely intellectual stuff.
And that's exactly what we're exploring today. That's our mission. We're going to follow Marco's journey, really unpack the wisdom he discovered. We'll look at this simple but actually really effective task the wise man gave him
Okay.
and the key insight it unlocked. We'll explore how this lesson shows that the peace Marco was looking for, well, it might already be waiting inside you too. So let's start by really digging into just how intense Marco's internal storm felt.
Yeah, let's do that.
So let's zoom in on Marco's specific struggles. They really mirrored that restlessness we talked about. The source material says his mind wasn't just busy, it was like this perpetual loop. Regret about the past, anxiety about the future, leaving him totally exhausted, couldn't sleep, disconnected even from smiling. It describes his mind as always full of different thoughts that came and went, making him feel uneasy and tired.
That deep weariness you're describing, the kind that comes from an unfocused mind,
Yeah.
that's actually a hallmark of quite a few modern psychological challenges. When we get trapped in that constant mental replay or projection,
Yeah.
it just depletes our cognitive resources. It's not just emotional. It actually impacts our nervous system, can lead to chronic stress. The mind really becomes its own kind of prison. Marco's experience is a powerful illustration of that, how it hits our whole well-being.
It really is. Feeling so consumed by thoughts that your body suffers, your sleep goes, even how you appear to others, your happiness, it's all affected. This nonstop internal monologue just kept Marco feeling profoundly restless.
Which is exactly why Marco's decision, his determination to actually seek help, is so important. Often that first step towards feeling better is just recognizing the struggle inside and actively looking for a different way.
Right.
And for Marco, this meant a pretty big commitment.
Which brings us straight to his journey. Despite all that inner turmoil, Marco had this curiosity, this hope, those really powerful human drivers. They pushed him forward. He set off on what's described as a long and tiring journey to find this wise man's village way up in the hills. He really believed this man had the answer, the key to his peace.
What really stands out there is Marco's resolve. Even feeling so restless, so chaotic inside, he had the strength, the conviction to undertake this physically tough journey.
Yeah.
It says a lot about how desperate he was, sure, but also about that flicker of hope he still had. And then when he finally gets there,
Yeah.
wow, the contrast between how he felt and the wise man's presence must have been incredibly stark.
Oh, absolutely.
That's often where a shift starts, just seeing that contrast.
Definitely. When he finally reached the village, he finds this small house covered with greenery, just a picture of calm. And there, on the porch, sits the old man, just sitting quietly, eyes closed, looking very peaceful. You have to imagine that scene. Marco arrives, mind racing like crazy, and finds this beacon of stillness.
Yeah.
And his plea was so simple, so heartfelt. Grandfather, my mind is very restless. I cannot stop thinking. I want peace in my heart. Can you help me?
That contrast, it's not just window dressing in the story. It feels deliberate,
How so?
Well, you've got Marco, this whirlwind of inner chaos, meeting this figure of complete stillness. As a psychologist, the wise man would likely know that just throwing advice or complex ideas at someone in that state, it might not sink in.
Right, it would just bounce off.
Exactly. Sometimes what you need isn't more talk, it's an experience, something carefully designed.
Yeah.
And that really sets the stage for his, well, pretty unusual response.
It really does, because instead of launching into advice, the wise man just offers this calm smile and says something like, so you're looking for peace. Okay, come with me. I have a small task for you. He leads Marco into his yard and does something really unexpected. He takes a glass and fills it completely full to the top with water.
Wow.
So full, the story emphasizes, that even a little shake would make the water spill.
That visual, that full glass. It's such a powerful, immediate metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like it visually represents Marco's own mind, already filled to capacity, just overflowing with thoughts, where any little extra thing, any distraction, would cause this emotional spillover.
Totally.
So the wise man isn't just giving him a chore. He's setting up this experiential lesson, a physical thing designed to bypass that overthinking mind and just engage the senses directly. It's kind of a classic technique, really creating a present moment anchor.
Right. And the instructions were super specific. Walk from here to the edge of the village and then come back. Simple enough, but then the crucial rule, remember, you must not spill even one drop of water.
Okay, high stakes for a glass of water.
Exactly. Marco naturally looked surprised. I mean, who wouldn't be? But he was so driven by wanting peace, so determined to do what the wise man asked. He accepted this weird challenge. Must have felt like a really strange request after traveling all that way for deep answers, but he just committed to it.
And that acceptance, even though he was surprised, it shows how earnest Marco was. He's open. Whatever the wise man suggests, he's willing to try. And that openness, that's actually a crucial first step in any kind of therapeutic process, really.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The task seems so simple, but there's a deeper purpose. It forces Marco into this state of sharp sensory focus before any explicit teaching even happens.
So Marco starts his walk holding this incredibly full, precarious glass of water. And the road, the source tells us, it wasn't quiet, it was narrow and busy.
Oh, okay.
Full of life. People walking, some running, shopkeepers were calling out to customers, dogs were barking. Just imagine all those things trying to grab his attention, all the things that could easily make him mess up, kind of like the external chaos that often mirrors our internal noise.
And that's where the genius of this task really comes through. Yeah. The wise man didn't send him off to some peaceful, quiet garden to do this.
No.
He sent him right into the middle of everyday sensory chaos.
Right.
A setting that perfectly mirrors the storm in Marco's own head, full of all these external thoughts and stimuli demanding attention. It's a practical demo of how to navigate noise both inside and out at the same time.
But Marco, he was completely locked in. The description of his focus is amazing. He did not look around. His eyes stayed only on the glass. He walked slowly and carefully, step by step.
Wow.
Just completely immersed in this one single task. Even the people on the road noticed him, looking at him with surprise, apparently. But, and this is significant, no one disturbed him. They knew he was learning something important.
That's fascinating. It's like his intense focus created this invisible shield, this attentional bubble around him. He wasn't actively trying to ignore everything else.
Right.
His attention was just fully booked, occupied by the glass. It perfectly illustrates this principle of selective attention. When a task demands a lot of your cognitive resources, your mind naturally filters out stuff that seems less relevant.
Yeah.
So his success not spilling a drop, it's not just about being careful physically.
Yeah.
It's proof of his unwavering mental presence, something that just emerged from doing the task.
And he did it. He gets back to the old man, totally triumphant, hadn't spilled a single drop. You can almost feel his relief, his pride maybe. The old man just nods, smiles, and then asks the absolute key question. That's good, but tell me, did you see the children playing on the side of the road? Did you hear the dogs barking?
And boom. That's the moment of truth. The revelation, the aha. For Marco and for us listening too. The wise man is expertly guiding Marco, helping him connect the dots between what he just did physically, experientially, and his internal mental state.
Right? Making the implicit explicit.
Perfectly.
And Marco's answer was immediate, totally honest. No, I didn't see or hear anything. I was only focusing on the glass. Pow. A moment of just profound insight for him. He hadn't just done a task. He'd experienced a completely different state of mind without even realizing it was possible for him.
Yes.
A state where that usual mental storm had just gone quiet.
And this is where the core insight comes out.
Yeah.
Not presented as some mystical secret, but as a practical way our minds work, a mechanism for cognitive control. The old man gently explains, something that was always inside you, but you didn't know. When your mind stays in the present moment, then there is no space for fear, no confusion, and no extra thoughts. It's not just about vaguely being present. It's about actively engineering presence through focused engagement.
Engineering presence, I like that.
It's like a basic form of neurofeedback almost. The immediate sensory input from that full glass of water recalibrated Marco's default attention patterns.
And he connects it straight back to Marco's own experience with the glass. You were only thinking about the water in the glass. At that time, your mind became completely quiet. You were not sad about the past. You are not afraid of the future. And it makes perfect sense when you hear it like that, doesn't it? When your attention is completely taken up by an immediate, demanding task.
Yeah.
The mental space for chewing over the past or worrying about the future just evaporates.
Indeed. What's so powerful is the clarity it offers. It's not about trying to force thoughts away.
Yeah.
We all know how well that usually works, right?
Pretty often backfire.
Exactly. Instead, it's about giving your mind a single compelling focus
Yeah.
that naturally pushes aside those usual loops of rumination and anxiety. That full glass of water became this tangible anchor to right now. It demonstrated that mental quietness is a direct result of where you put your focus,
Yeah.
not necessarily the absence of all thought. Connecting it to the bigger picture, it shows how our perceptions of past and future are often just creations of an unfocused mind.
And so, slowly, Marco starts to get it. This wasn't some external magic trick, no complicated philosophy. It was the peace he'd been desperately searching for, but activated from within him. Through a simple act of focused attention, he grasped that essential truth. Peace is not something we find outside. Peace is already inside us when we live in the present moment. He got it. To calm his mind, he just had to keep my mind in this moment. That's where the real peace is found.
That deep understanding, that's the real transformation. Marco didn't just learn a trick, he integrated this fundamental truth about awareness, about consciousness, through his own direct experience.
Yeah.
Realizing peace is an internal ability, something you can access by living in the present. That reframes his whole quest. It's not about chasing something outside anymore, it's about cultivating something inside. A huge shift in mental strategy.
And Marco, the story says, no longer the same restless young man, starts his journey back home. He was peaceful inside because now he knew how to calm his mind. It marks this really significant internal shift, a newfound sense of agency over his inner world, all from a glass of water, basically.
Well, the glass of water and the profound lesson it carried, yeah.
Right.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, for you listening, this story shows such a critical truth about managing the mind. It's not about trying to eliminate thoughts completely. That's often impossible, just leads to frustration.
Totally.
Instead, it's about choosing where your attention rests and actively engaging with that choice. By shifting your focus to the present moment, like Marco did with the water, you naturally lessen the power of past regrets and future worries. You're redirecting the mind's energy, not trying to suppress it.
So we followed Marco's journey from a mind like a storm, turbulent, unsettling, to finding this profound inner peace, all through this surprisingly direct lesson with a full glass of water. And his discovery really reveals that the calm he was seeking wasn't some elusive external prize. It was an innate capacity, an ability that was just activated inside him by focusing on the here and now.
It really underscores that the path to inner quiet doesn't have to be complex or, super esoteric. It can be found in the most ordinary things, the most
Mhm.
ordinary tasks, if you approach them with that intentional, present moment focus.
Yeah.
Marco's story gives us this practical, really relatable example of how to start that journey. Not necessarily through abstract meditation, maybe, but through concrete sensory engagement.
So what does Marco's path mean for you, listening in? Think about those moments in your own life. Maybe times you've been so completely absorbed in something, a task, an experience, that time just seemed to melt away
Yeah.
and your worries just faded into the background. Maybe you were gardening, maybe creating something, painting, writing, maybe deeply listening to music, or just intently working on a problem that needed all your concentration. That right there, that was your full glass of water moment.
Those moments are such vital clues. They're glimpses of your mind when it's in harmony, when it's focused and free from the usual mental clutter. They prove that you already have this capacity for present moment awareness. It's just a matter of consciously activating it more often.
So here's a question for you to think about. How can you intentionally, deliberately, maybe even engineer more of these present moment experiences in your daily life? How can you cultivate that kind of focused engagement that quieted Marco's storm and discovered the deep peace that, just like him, you might actually already have within you?
It's about finding your own full glass of water moments.
Exactly. We encourage you to look for them, maybe create them, not just as tasks, but as gateways to that inner calm. Thank you for joining this exploration with us today.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Until next time, stay well and maybe find a little more peace in the present.